Welcoming you to a life of awareness, the Presence Project is excited for you to join us for today's podcast with your host, Paul Kerzner.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Are You Being Present? My name is Paul Kerzner. I want to welcome you to the present moment. I want to welcome you to the here and now. And I want to thank you wholeheartedly, deeply, and sincerely for joining me in this joyous and beautiful present moment. The topic and title for this podcast is Are You Being Present? I know it is the title of the actual podcast, but I felt it was appropriate for me to really address this question and ask you and ask myself, are you being present? As we go throughout our days, we're constantly being challenged. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, there are a number of presence challenges that we face, sometimes concurrently. And it is our job, it is our responsibility to bring ourselves into the present moment. Yes, we also have a job, and yes, we also have other responsibilities that need tending to. But how can we properly achieve anything if we can't do it in the present moment? The purpose of this podcast, of all the podcasts, of the Presence Projects, is to teach presence. And it is the basis of these teachings around one single question. One question that I ask myself all the time. One question that I implore everyone to ask themselves as many times as they can as they go throughout their day. Are you being present? So let me ask you, are you being present? Right here and right now? Are you multitasking? Are you thinking about what you have to do later? Are you thinking about what took place earlier? As human beings living in this third dimension, we have egos and we have a mind and we have a thought stream. And these things, they challenge us tremendously. What are we supposed to do about that? When is this ever going to end? And the truth is that this is a lifetime opportunity. This is a lifetime endeavor. And you will get better at it, that is for sure, but there's not some point where you get to where you're done. I mean, even if you were a monk living on a hill, meditating for 23 hours a day, whatever it is, you still have presence distractions. And it's not possible for any of us, living in Western society to be in a meditative state all the time. There are many things that we have to take care of to be privileged enough to eat, to have clothes, to have shelter. We have bills to pay. And paying a bill is a presence distraction for sure, but it is a necessity, is a necessary one at that. So we have all of these challenges, these beautiful opportunities that we can reframe. And so let's look at a bill. You have to pay your bills, whatever those bills are, and paying those bills is it is a responsibility, but it's an opportunity, it's a privilege. It allows you to do something, to be somewhere, to have something, whatever. And so if we can look at it in a very positive frame of mind, instead of looking at it like, oh, this is a bill. If we look at it as, oh, this is a bill and it's allowing me to do these great things, that allows us to be in the present moment. And you see how that is a presence opportunity right there to reframe something that all of us talk about in such a negative way. And that's the beauty of being present, is that we can look at things and we can reframe them in a way that feels good. Now, the truth is that not everything's going to feel good in your life, and that's okay, because we're living in a relative reality where We know good from bad, light from dark, dry from wet. So there are some times where we need to be challenged, and that is a truth of a truth. But if we are in a state of allowance and acceptance, if we are fully living in the moment, we are being fully present, we can see the beauty in each and every moment. We can see the opportunity, the brilliance of life. But when we start using closed words, closed terms, things start to feel rather negatively, rather poorly. And when that happens, we get pulled right out of the present moment. We start thinking about the past or worrying about the future. You know, my message for you, my message with this podcast, with all the podcasts, it is an important one at that. You know, there are people out there talking about mindfulness for sure. But, you know, to me, mindfulness is this concept. I'm here teaching you presence. I'm here giving you the foundation so that you can achieve mindfulness. But without presence, nothing is possible. How could you be mindful if you're not living in the present moment? How could you be mindful if you're constantly being inundated with thoughts of the past and worries of the future? It's just not possible. So there the question lies. Are you being present? Well, let me ask you again. Are you being present? You know, when you first join me for this endeavor, for this journey, for this chapter in your life, you're going to have to ask yourself that question a million times a day, because when you start awakening, you're going to start seeing that no, you're not being present. Almost every thought that you think of has to do with the past or the future. And that is a very challenging experience indeed. But let me tell you something. It changes. Everything changes. So if you can be vigilant, if you could be persistent, if you could be consistent, and ask yourself over and over, does this thought have anything to do with the present moment? Does this feeling have anything to do with the present moment? Am I being present? It gets easier. And I could say that with personal assurance because I've been there. I lived a life, I lived a reality that was far from present. I had a thought stream that was dominating me. I was the victim of my own thoughts. One of the reasons I can sit here and talk to you and teach you is because I have learned that through a correct fluid methodology, anything is possible. More so, it is possible to be present. And I understand that some of you right now are going through some challenges. There are some tough times that you're living with. But I can promise you that everything's changing. It's going to get better. And you have to keep telling yourself that. You have to keep pulling yourself into the present moment. We've all been through challenges. Some of us are going through challenges. Some of us just got done with challenges. Some of us have challenges coming up. But the beauty of it all is that if we can reframe our perception, our perspective of the challenges, and we can look at them as opportunities, we can grow from them. We can prosper from them. You know, and that's so important because that means that, you know, you're not a victim anymore. This is the 23rd podcast, and I have to tell you that each podcast has been different and unique in its own way. But through it all, there's been this underlying message. There's been this underlying teaching and emphasis. And, you know, I've had to be a little repetitive at times, but I think that that's really what's called for. Because, you know, we have a society that is based on multitasking and distraction. And how could you ever be present? How could you ever be present if you're multitasking constantly? How could you ever be present if you're constantly distracted? If you're not living in the here and now? If you're not placing value on being in the moment, living in the moment, appreciating and loving each and every moment, it's just not possible. You know, too many people are just floating, coasting through life as zombies, basically. And it is such an honor and privilege of mine to sit in front of patients, to sit in front of you, the listener, and say, wait a second, why are you doing this? And to follow it up and say, There's a better way. We can do this. We can be present. You could be present. You can feel what it feels like to be present. You can let go of all of the thoughts that have been controlling you for so long. It's possible. Not only is it possible, it's probable. And I can teach you how. And I've been teaching you how. Listen from the very first podcast up until this podcast. There have been so many presence tools. We've had so many great guest hosts who have talked about, their lives, their experiences, their professions, their careers, and how it all relates to being present. Because ultimately, if you're present, doing whatever it is you're doing, you're going to be enjoying it more. Okay? You're going to be awakened to your truth, to the possibilities that exist. And there's nothing more important in life than being present. And, I might have to go another 100 podcasts, and hopefully I will, on this topic. And I have no plans of deviating at all, because it is that important. This message is that important. This question, are you being present, is that important that I am willing to do whatever it takes to drill it into your head so that you can understand that being present, living in the moment, is all that really matters. It is at the heart, it is at the crux of reality. Reality only exists in the present moment. That's it. And my job is to simplify that for you. Because anything less than that is just a distraction. And as human beings, we have this innate desire for whatever reason to complicate life. And it's so silly because, the only complication that exists is in your head. If we take a step back and we actually allow life to flow properly, there is a beauty and simplicity that exists in nature. And it exists only in the present moment. You don't see animals, little children, babies, obsessing about a past memory or a future concern, a future worry. And I'm not saying that we need to lead our lives like that, but I'm saying that we need to look at how amazing a feeling space that is, and how freeing it is, how liberating it is. And we need to embody it, because it is beautiful. The present moment is beautiful. Your life is beautiful. You are beautiful. And it is only your ego that makes you think otherwise. And it takes work to detach from your thought stream. It takes work to identify your ego's voice. But that is a worthy endeavor. Because when you go from being the victim of your thoughts, the victim of your ego, to being the observer, you become a much more powerful human being. And that is what my hope is for you, is that you're able to step into your own power, to step away from the thoughts that have nothing to do with the present moment, and to love being in the here and now, to understand the importance of it. I am in such deep gratitude for this moment, for this opportunity to speak to you. And gratitude is really one of the best presence tools that we can use. There are many presence tools, but for this moment, I just want to talk about gratitude. Be grateful for all that you've ever had, for all that you have, and for all that you will ever have in the future. A future that doesn't even exist yet. But just get into that state of gratitude and allowance and love for everything. And then all of your perceived problems, all of your perceived challenges and your issues really don't matter. They just disappear. And, whether you have to sit down and write a whole list of things that you're grateful for, or you just need to sit down and write one thing that you're grateful for. Maybe you talk to someone about you're grateful for them. Pick up the phone. Send a text message. Take this moment to be grateful for the people in your life, for the people that have helped you, for the people that have loved you, for the people that have supported you. Because when you do that, there's a symbiosis that exists. They will experience and feel gratitude, and you will experience and feel gratitude. And then it will send a ripple out through the universe. And all of a sudden, you'll be in this state of gratitude. And you'll be able to set aside the many challenges that you've made up in your head. And I'm not trying to detract from your challenges. They're real to you, of course. But we have to put them in their place. And we have to understand that they're really just opportunities. So again, I'm going to ask you, are you being present? Are you being present right now, listening to me? Are you being present? Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question over and over again. I promise you that question has the power to shift and change your reality in a moment's notice, because it brings an awareness, an awakening to the fact that no, you're not being present. And then it gives you the opportunity to let go of whatever it is that you're being focused on, whatever it is that you're obsessing about. Just let it go. It's that simple. Yes, it really is that simple. So join me in the present moment. Join me in the here and now. Understand that it is not as complicated as you think it is. It just takes a little bit of perseverance. Maybe you need to use a presence tool like gratitude. Maybe you need to build your own mindfulness practice. Maybe you need to journal a little bit. Whatever it is, it's good work. Being present, working on presence is good work. And it will help alleviate a tremendous amount of self-inflicted suffering. So quickly, so effectively, so lovingly. Which is why I implore you to take this time now, not tomorrow, not next week, to be present, to look around and see all of the many gifts and treasures that you have in your life, people, places, and things. Be grateful. Honor that. Honor this life. You can only honor this life in the present moment. So do that. And understand how grateful and you are, how grateful I am, how grateful we should all be for just having this moment to be alive. I mean, that by itself is an amazing experience, yet we take it for granted. We take so much for granted. And that needs to end now, in the present moment. So again, I ask you, are you being present?
Thank you for listening to the Are You Being Present podcast, brought to you by the Presence Projects. Remember, you have a choice. Choose to be present.